What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Sports Nerds podcast here on the 515 Podcast Network. I'm Brock Bierman alongside with my boy Dawson Livingston. He's probably feeling a little bit better this week after a little bit of a recovery from Cyhawk
Let's
week.
go.
You guys have a little bit of an offense in the red zone now. I mean, when you put Sullivan in at quarterback, it seems like you guys roll inside the 10 a little more than McNamara.
Who would have thought running the ball in the goal line is way smarter than throwing it 4 straight times like they did in the Cyhawk game? Who would have thought?
Well, they ran that play where Sullivan got a touchdown
Yeah,
on, and I was like, why are they running this against not Arkansas State? Who'd you guys play?
Troy.
Troy. Why are you guys running this against Troy when you probably should have ran something like that against Iowa State? Because I feel like that would have caught Iowa State a little bit off guard as well. But
Yeah.
it was interesting. I'm assuming you went to the game.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you know that McGuire, my brother, went?
I did not
was,
know that.
So he was in attendance with his girlfriend, and they were in the which side is the newer end zone? The north end zone.
North end zone. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the north end zone for the game with his girlfriend's family or whatever, and he's like, I'm probably the only one that does not care about this game whatsoever. And then at halftime, I was like, you're probably now not the only person that's upset, because going into the game, he probably didn't necessarily want to be there because he doesn't really care about football. He just likes hanging out with them. And then at halftime, he's not the only one upset, because I think Troy was up at half, which was interesting. But that's football for you. And I mean, the Hawks came out with a win. Big game this weekend though against the Gophers.
Oh man, we got to take Floyd back. We got to take the pig. The pig is ours, dude. Should have had the pig from last year. That we don't talk about what happened at the end of last year's game, but that pig needs to come back to Iowa City.
Not most not from the perspective of this is your favorite rivalry game. Is it your favorite trophy?
Oh, for sure. Because Cyhawk game is just like a standard trophy. It's got like Cy, it's got Hokie on it. I'm trying to remember the Iowa-Wisconsin one. And then the Iowa-Nebraska one's just a plain standard trophy. Not very many trophies in college football. The only one I can think of that's kind of cool is, I believe it's Wisconsin-Minnesota. They have the Axe.
Yeah,
is that Minnesota-Michigan? Yeah. One of those two. That's a really cool trophy, but I mean, anytime you're fighting over, I think it's a 200-pound pig.
Yeah.
Like the trophy weighs 200 pounds. I mean, that's pretty cool in itself.
I loved when I know some people like the old Cyhawk trophy, but I like that the new one that you have to have like 3 linemen carry it off because it's so heavy.
Oh yeah.
Iowa State has a rivalry with Kansas State, and they call it Farmageddon. And I still am wondering why they don't have like a trophy where it's like 2 tractors colliding with one another, and then one side's corn and one side's wheat. Like that's exactly what that rivalry stands for. And the fact that that's not even a trophy, there isn't a trophy for the Farmageddon game against Iowa State and K-State, it still blows my mind.
Okay, I will say I was a little naive. The Wisconsin-Iowa one is a bowl. So that's pretty cool too. I totally forgot about that.
Nothing beats Floyd though.
I was gonna say Iowa usually doesn't win the games against Wisconsin, so we don't really see that one too often. But Minnesota, the Pigs got to stay in Iowa City.
Yeah, and I mean, controversial way to lose Floyd last year. We'll see what happens this year. It's in Minnesota, right?
Yep, 6:30 game.
Any chance the field goal posts get torn down like they did back in the early 2000s?
Oh man, I think that'd be so funny, but no, I don't think so.
But I those videos always circulate during the week of Minnesota, and as much as I don't care for both universities, it's one of the best videos is just seeing the opposing team's fans tear down Minnesota's field goal post and then taking them out of the stadium at the same time. It's one of the greatest things. But we're going to switch gears back to the main purpose of the show, focusing on the NFL. I would say it was another good week of the NFL season. Honestly, there was a lot of upsets, or at least games I didn't expect to go a certain way, and they either went one way that I thought would have been nowhere near like a chance, and then there's another route that went exactly how I thought, and it was basically no in between. There wasn't like just an overall game that I kind of saw it going one way, but it went a little bit the other way. It was two different extremes. It was either I didn't expect this to happen, or I kind of expected this to happen.
Yeah, we're still early enough in the season where we're going to think a lot of upsets happen, but hey, maybe some of these teams are just really good. Me and Brock are kind of referring to like the Saints. I don't think either one of us thought the Saints would be the most high-powered offense in the league this up to this point,
Yeah,
or even a game like the Raiders going into Baltimore and beating them. Like we didn't think that would happen this early in week 2, but so early in the regular season, a lot of teams still have some stuff to figure out. So I don't get too wound up about a certain team beating another better team.
yeah, and we'll go through all these games to recap them. But as you can tell by the title of our episode, the NFL has got an injury problem already in week 2, and I mean, like I feel like we have this conversation at least once a year. Usually, it's towards the middle of the season. I feel like more than early on, like it is right now. But it seems like every team has at least one really notable injury on their roster. Some teams are affected more than others. Obviously, Thursday we saw Tua go down again with another concussion, did the whole pose or whatever that people are talking about, where he basically says he was knocked out. And so a lot of people have been talking about whether or not he should pull an Andrew Luck and consider retirement, to the point of how long because of how many concussions he's had. I mean, the one 2 years ago where they allowed him to come back the next week honestly still upsets me. I get that he can pass concussion protocols and that clears him and everything. I'm from the perspective that your brain is such a fragile thing, and if you mess it up, you're not going to get you won't be your normal self when you get older. So allowing someone to come back a week after a brain injury or a head injury is something that I'm not really for, even if it is for the NFL to have the best players on the field at at all times, because two of the following week got hurt again, and we saw him almost collapse. And we're in another situation where Tua is hurt with another concussion. Brings up a lot of questions. You got other people, though, in the NFL that are also injured. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, within the span of 2 weeks, both go down with injuries. And we talked about the Rams being a potential dark horse for that NFC West conference or division, excuse me. But we both said they have to stay healthy on the offensive side. And already they have their two biggest receiver weapons out for a pretty good portion of the first half of the season. Debo also got hurt for the 49ers. Jake Ferguson was out last week for the Cowboys. Not that he's a huge X factor, but maybe the Cowboys would have loved to have at least a tight end that they could potentially look at more on the offensive side. Pacheco for the Chiefs is out. I mean, Hollywood Brown, I think, has been announced that he won't be playing this year, which is unfortunate, or at least it's going towards the route of him not playing this year, which I was super excited because I thought he was going to finally have a chance to show who he is as a receiver. And then Justin Jefferson for Minnesota. Those were just a few that I had written down as big names. Not all of them are out. I think Jefferson is one that Jefferson and Jake Ferguson are both on pace to play this week, but some big names in the NFL that are already hurt this year.
Right, and it feels like you said, it's happening earlier this year than it has in years past. I mean, we haven't even talked about a guy who's still on IR as we speak, Christian McCaffrey, who was questionable in the week 1 game and then now is not going to play for the next 3 or 4 weeks. So that's a big blow for San Francisco. Obviously, with Debo going on the IR too, I mean, that doesn't help either. For any fantasy owners out there, it's been rough if you have either Cooper Kupp or Nacua. I have a buddy who had Kupp go down this week. He had McCaffrey go down, and he had one other guy. And the 3 of his first 4 picks in fantasy have already been on IR. So, RIP to that guy. But
one of my buddies has I'm looking up his roster currently. Christian McCaffrey, and then he took 2 players with his draft picks, knowing that they wouldn't start the season, but Nick Chubb and TJ Hawkinson. So right now he's He's playing the
He's
long
maxed out on
game.
IR.
Yeah, he's playing the long game. In our league, we only have 2 IR spots too. So he's
Yeah.
having that because you can't drop Nick Chubb or TJ, so you got to sit on one of
No.
them being on your bench. Another guy, he texted me in our group chat, different league, for a different group of people that I've gotten to know over the years, but he somehow managed to get the first pick in every league that he was in. And you can't not take Christian McCaffrey. So he
Right.
took Christian McCaffrey, and he's like, dude, every league, I have no idea what to do because he has Christian McCaffrey on ours, as well as pretty much the rest of his team is questionable as well. So a lot of people in the fantasy world are struggling, which honestly, though, we don't wish for injuries, but the injury part of fantasy is kind of a fun part of it because like you can be out of it and then all of a sudden one team, one person gets plagued with injuries and all of a sudden you're back into it. And especially in those leagues where it's like you don't want to finish last because if you finish last, you got a punishment.
Right. As someone who I'm in a couple different fantasy leagues, in one of mine, so we use Sleeper. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I think I talked about this last week too. You get a win based on your matchup, and you get a win
Oh
or
yeah.
loss based on the league median. In that league, I'm 4-0. I'm doing really well, but I have other leagues where it's like, I have Cooper Cup down. I have Justin Jefferson that went out early that week. I'm like, cannot finish last in that one. But no, it does seem like there's a unusual high number of injuries like thus far in the regular season. I don't know what to attribute that to or what's going on. I think some of it's just bad luck for some of these guys, but hopefully I think a lot of these guys are going to be able to come back later in the year, which is good.
Yep.
For the case of like Jermaine Johnson on the Jets, who I believe tore his Achilles. I don't think he's going to be able to come back this year. As well as, like you said, Marquise Brown. I don't think Hollywood Brown's going to be able to come back and suit up for the Chiefs this year.
Yeah. And maybe it's a situation where a lot more notable names are already getting hurt and we're actually still at the like normal amount of injuries early on into the season. It's just that, we're being shown a little more the injury problem that there is in the NFL already because of the names that are already hurt.
Right, and it's resulting in some teams having to bring up practice squad guys that might not necessarily be ready and kind of throwing them into the fire for the NFL. Because it's for every single one of these guys that's in the NFL, they were stars in college, but once you get up to that NFL level, it's a totally different game. The game's way faster. Defenses are more complex. Offenses are harder to stop. So that's why I think some of these teams, like some of these better teams that are 0-2, I think that you can attribute that to, like a team like the Rams, or a team even like the Ravens who are 0-2. And I think me and you both agree that Baltimore is still easily one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the AFC.
Yeah, I saw like some percentage of like teams that go 0-2. I don't remember what the percentage of making the playoffs, but if they don't make the playoffs, I'll actually still be shocked. That's where I'm at with them. At the same time, this is what's so fun about the NFL though, because they're 0-2, yet they're probably still considered a Super Bowl favorite. I would still consider them somewhat of a Super Bowl contender to make the Super Bowl at least. Of course, the AFC is a tough route to get to the Super Bowl in the first place. So you need to get as many wins as possible to get that home field advantage. But then you got the Saints, where I'm still not like on the side of that they're going to make the playoffs just because they started 2-0 and had 2 great performances. One of them being against a very bad Panthers team and the Dallas Cowboys, who are usually hit or miss. I will say it's more shocking because the Cowboys usually have great starts to their seasons, but I'm still not like that's what's so fun is like we're heading into week 3 and I still don't really know who I like more than everybody else. Maybe it's still Kansas City. Kansas City played a close close game against Cincinnati last week, and I didn't get to watch the entire game, but through text messages with people who are Chiefs fans that I know, a lot of them have talked about the play calling wasn't the greatest last week.
Yeah, offense they weren't really able to get the ball moving at all, especially the passing game. I think Mahomes, there's the stat out there. Sunday was the lowest amount of passing yards he's ever had in a game he started and completed. I think he only had 150 something, which is not like alarming for Chiefs fans, but I think it's just because the Bengals always play him super tough, and Lou Anarumo, the Bengals coordinator, always seems to have Mahomes' number for whatever reason. But the game was choppy. It was pretty much back and forth the entire game. The game really swung when Burrow fumbled and Chiefs
Yep.
defender Chamari Connor was able to scoop and score that. That really flipped the game upside down. And then obviously what everyone's talking about still, which I could
It
not
was
tell you why.
if you're talking about the penalty, it was.
Right. I think Bengals fans are just so sad human beings that they're clawing for anything right now to get the media to be on their side. But
It was a 100% pass interference, in my opinion. All of the replays that I was showed back that up. I feel like it's one of those things where people are complaining about it more because it's a bang bang play where it's like, of course that player's not going to at least try to get there because it's fourth down. You get to
right.
stop, you win the game. It's just unfortunate he got there just a little too early,
Yeah.
which resulted in, of course, the penalty call being made.
Right, but to kind of wrap my thoughts up with this game, I mean, obviously sucks that Pacheco's not going to be. He's going to be on IR. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, which is honestly shorter than I thought he was going to miss. I thought he was going to have to miss potentially the whole season. I think it was a broken tibia, which is not a.
Yeah.
That's a pretty serious injury.
And I mean, if you're put on IR, it doesn't mean you have to be taken off once that ends, right? I don't know the whole rules with IR injury.
So once you put on IR, I believe you have to be out 4 weeks is the minimum. But you can stay on as long as you like as long as you're still recovering. I think you can still stay on IR. But once you're put on, same with guys like McCaffrey, Puka Nacua, potentially Cooper Kupp, like you're out for 4 weeks no matter what. Once you're put on that IR, so Pacheco's going to be out at least next month. But hey, if he comes back in 8 weeks and Kansas City can still kind of ease him into the playoffs, I think that's when Kansas City can become really, really tough to play.
And at the same time, I like playing. I'm a chess, not checkers guy when it comes to like rosters and how things work, and especially with the injury stuff. And looking at the next like 6 games, 8 games for the Chiefs, you got at Atlanta, at Chargers, Saints, bye week, at San Francisco, at Las Vegas, at home versus Tampa Bay, at home versus Denver, and at Buffalo. One of those games I would consider a toss-up. That's, of course, depending on Debo and McCaffrey being available. I'm not even going to lie. Let's say you lose 2 games out of that whole stretch and Pacheco is like 85%, keep him off. If you got a good lead in the AFC and you know that you got home field advantage, or at least you have a good route to get home field advantage, don't risk it.
Right. I think it's really going to be telling how Kansas City's running backs are going to do the next week or two. Obviously, they have Carson Steele, undrafted player out of UCLA, on their roster. They also signed a guy in Samaje Perine for the regular season. And as of yesterday, they signed a guy who I never thought was going to be back on the team for certain reasons. But Kareem Hunt is back on Kansas City, which
they actually signed him.
I still can't believe that happened.
Oh, they did actually sign him.
Yeah, he's on the practice squad.
I thought it was just rumors. Huh.
No, yesterday they actually signed him. I actually saw some of these rumors on Monday and then immediately scooped him up in one of my fantasy leagues. And I'm like, I'm going to stash him just on the off chance that Kareem Hunt is like really good still. If not, I'll just cut him. And
I'm going on waivers right now. I'm going to go on waivers for the leagues I'm not in with you right now. I'm not going to lie.
And pick up Kareem Hunt?
Yeah.
Because, hey, last time Kareem was on the Chiefs, granted, this is almost 6 years ago.
It's only been 6 years. It feels longer than that, honestly.
Well, 2018 is when he
got
cut. Yeah, 6 years.
Wow.
And I think Kareem had 12 touchdowns and almost 900 yards, and he got cut in like week 12 of that year. So Kareem Hunt, I mean, obviously, I don't think he's nearly the same player he was 6-7 years ago.
You don't have to.
Right, but if Kansas City can just get a fraction of that and just kind of like be able to just float around the running back situation until Pacheco comes back, I think Kansas City is going to be really scary.
Yeah, you don't need to be 100% like have a dominant running back. Certain teams that have good quarterbacks, I do think need a balance with a running back. I mean, Rodgers works really well when he can have a running back that can develop the run game, so then he can air it out. Rodgers, of course, doesn't really need a running back at the same time, but I think Mahomes doesn't have to have a running back. It will make him more dangerous, though, if they have a solid running game, not necessarily off of one player, but a running attack that they don't have to necessarily be like, okay, we have to air it out every play.
Right, and speaking of Rodgers, I don't know if you watched that Tennessee game. It looks like he's got two good running backs on that roster. He's got Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, who
Did you see Breece Hall's catch?
Yeah,
that wasn't a running back catch.
Insane. No,
that was really impressive. But yeah, that's another team that we'll have to talk about today. At the same time, maybe even talking about the team that they beat in the Titans a little bit. But before we get into kind of recapping the entire week as a whole, we talked a little bit, of course, about the Chiefs. Let's get into our players of the week. We'll start with you, and you're kind of taking a.
I'm taking the Brock Bierman approach.
Yes.
I'm taking Austin Siebert. People are going to be like, why is Dawson picking a kicker? Well, dude just got signed off for the practice squad this week and then comes in. The Washington scores 21 points. You would think, they scored 3 touchdowns. Nope. 7 field goals. I was going to pull up how long the field goals were. If I can.
I don't think he kicked one over 50, but still, the fact that he went 7 of 7
his longest
in one game.
Was 45, which kind of hilarious, but he had a 27, 45, 26, 27, 29, 33, 30.
He's no Chris Boswell going 3 to 3 from 50 plus, but
you get my player of the week when you're signed off the practice squad, your first game with your team, and you go 7 for 7 on field goals and hit the game-winning field goal.
Yep.
There's this stat where if a team has scored 3 touchdowns, they've never lost to a team that hasn't scored a touchdown, if that makes sense. So, in this instance, the Giants scored 3 touchdowns. I think they went for 2 or missed their PATs every time. And Washington was still able to beat them, which is still hilarious. So, that's my player of the week, Austin Siebert, kicker of the Washington Commanders.
Real quick before I give you mine, I'm shocked neither of us picked Alvin Kamara from the Saints because I didn't pick Alvin.
That's
20 carries.
Every other podcast, every other news outlet's going to pick Kamara. I wanted to be bold, just like I liked how you picked Boswell last week. I might be on the kicker all year long.
So Alvin Kamara, 20 carries, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns, averaged 5.8 on the ground against the Cowboy defense that everybody said was going to be a really good defense. I still think they are. I just think this was sometimes you need to get slapped in the face to fix your issues. I also think not having Dan Quinn at the defensive coordinator position is affecting them already. But we'll see as the season continues. He also had 2 receptions for 65 yards and 1 touchdown. I had Alvin Kamara on one of my rosters, and to say the least, we had a very good week because of his performance. I think I had him in our league that we're in together, if I remember right.
I don't even want to talk. Dude, that one I got annihilated.
I did not have Alvin Kamara. No, I had 171 last week. And yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I lost 100. No, wait, wrong league. In one of my leagues, lost 170 to 90. Like, it just wasn't even close. I'm like, all right, I'll take my L. Lost 150 to 90. So two of my 4 leagues, I got absolutely annihilated in, which is not good.
That's rough. But Kamara had a great game. But I'm going to go with, this is a little biased, but I'm going to go with Kyler Murray versus the Rams. At one point, he was 8 for 9 with 3 touchdowns. That meant every 3 passes he was throwing for a touchdown. and finished with 266 yards passing, no interceptions. I think he's the only quarterback in the NFL to have 4 touchdowns on the year total and 0 interceptions. I'll have to look it up to confirm. It was a graphic I think CBS Sports posted earlier this week. Kyler also had 5 carries and 59 rushing yards. And so he is the only one with 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions
4
on the year.
touchdowns or more with 0 interceptions.
So Kyler's my player of the week. I think he had a 98.3. Yeah, so 98.2, 98.3. I think it's been adjusted a couple times.
That's
QBR
insane, though.
For Kyler, yeah. He had an amazing game, and it was interesting because the week before he missed Marvin Harrison Jr. wide open against the Bills, would have won the game off of that pass. And then he said, it's not my job to give Marvin Harrison the ball.
Well,
I think he did exactly that. And then he did exactly that. Marvin Harrison had 4 receptions, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Had a 60-yard reception as well. I think, and then the funny thing about it is all of Kyler's incompletions were to Marvin Harrison this week. And Marvin Harrison said, that's on me, not on Kyler. So I'm not going to lie. I was feeling really bad after week 1, but I kind of like these two, how they're kind of just bouncing random quotes off of each other or to the media. I think they actually do have a good relationship from the sounds of it. 41-10 was the final score. I expected the Cardinals to at least be in it, not winning 41-10. Of course, Kupp and Nakua weren't. I mean, Kupp got hurt, I think, he got hurt during that game. Nakua didn't even play because of last week. I feel really good about the Cardinals. I'm not going to lie, dude.
I just can't believe you missed an opportunity to do the funniest graphic of the week.
Are you talking? Give me a sec. Give me a sec. I'll work on it.
I just kind of figured if you were going to pick Kyler Murray as your player of the week that, like, a certain joke would have been implied.
I mean, yeah. Let me.
I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with that joke, but I feel like it has to be done here.
I'll get on to that. I found the image. Let me see if I can save it real quick. I gotta save it and convert it to a PDF. But no, dude, those two were so fun. They're fun to watch.
Dude. Me and my roommate, so we were watching our main 2 games were the Packers Colts and I already blanked on the second game. Oh, the Minnesota game. Minnesota San Francisco. So we weren't really watching Cardinals Rams at all. And then we look at the bottom ticker and it's like, oh, Arizona's up 21-0. Oh, Arizona's up by like 30. Oh, they won 41-10. I'm like, the first thing I thought of was, hey, I know my man Brock Bierman is jumping out of his freaking chair for the Arizona Cardinals right now.
Yeah,
who have the same record as the San Francisco 49ers right now.
I was having so much fun.
Yes.
But there's the image of Marvin Harrison. I wish I could zoom in a little more on it, but Marvin Harrison and Kyler Murray might have to start using that a little more often every time they get a win. I hope I got to look at the Cardinals schedule. I assume they play the Cowboys at some point. You know how they do that meme
they play the Lions next.
Okay,
that's a home game. That's a home game.
And Lions dropped a close one against the Buccaneers, dude. And so they don't play the Cowboys this year, but you know they always do that. Still check in to see if them boys or whatever meme, and they always put Kyler exactly like that, where it's like half his head. And I feel bad, but it's hilarious. We got to full screen that. This great meme. Marvin Harrison, Kyler Murray, dude. If I could have done both, they would have been both my players of the week, but I'm going to go with Kyler on this one just because he was more consistent throughout the whole game, and Marvin was responsible for all of his drops or all of his incompletions for the game. So now we're going to get back to recapping the games. We're going to highlight some of them. Bills and Dolphins, I really don't think there's much to talk about outside of the fact that Tua got hurt, because that's pretty much the only storyline from it. I will say it was an impressive win for the Bills after playing a close one against the Cardinals. I think it's going to be a year where I'm like, the Cardinals are going to be in every game. They're just going to drop a lot of them just because they have that inexperience. But any thoughts on the Bills-Dolphins game at all?
I got 2 thoughts. First of all, shout out James Cook, first touchdown scorer. Made me some money on Thursday. Shout out that. Also, if we weren't going to pick Kamara or you picked Kyler and I didn't pick the Washington kicker, I mean, you could have argued that James Cook was the player of the week. He was dominant for the Bills. Had 3 touchdowns that game. Bills didn't really have to do a whole lot on offense because their defense was so dominant. But I think Buffalo's a way better team than we thought. I still really like my Buffalo to win the AFC East pick. I think
I don't like my Dolphins pick any. No, I went Jets, but I think I went Dolphins second, and I don't like that anymore.
I think that's going to age like fine wine towards the end of the season. But yeah, that's really all I got.
Going on to the Sunday slate, I'm going to kind of throw some ideas off of you, and then I would just kind of want your opinions on them. Vikings 49ers. Of course, the 49ers, I don't think have beaten Minnesota in Minnesota since the 90s. At least I think someone pointed out that it was the year after Joe Montana left the 49ers for the Chiefs. Which is funny to think about how long ago that was. Any cause for worry with the 49ers, or are the Vikings actually that good?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we underestimated how good Darnold is and how good the system that is around him.
Did the 49ers pick the wrong quarterback? You got to remember, Sam Darnold was in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm completely kidding, by the way. But
yeah, but I think it's a little bit of both. I think Minnesota's better than we thought. I think, especially once they get Hawkinson back, I think this offense is going to be a top 10, maybe a top 5 offense. They seem to really be moving the ball really well through 2 weeks. And then with the Niners, I don't think it's time to press the panic button quite yet. You got a bunch of injuries, and I know that's a story with every single Niners team the last 7 or 8 years, it feels like. But if they're able to just get through these next few weeks, I mean, I'd have to pull up their schedule to see. I know they play the Chiefs. Like this week, they got the Rams. I know division games are always kind of close, but with the Rams having a lot of injuries right now, maybe the Niners can pull that one. And then they got the Patriots. They got Brock's Cardinals after. They're at the road to the Seahawks, which I feel like could be a tough game because Seattle's looked better than what we thought too. And then that game on the 20th against the Chiefs. So who knows? I think it's not time to press the panic button yet for the Niners. But if you drop this game in the Rams and you start out your season 1-2 with all the expectations going into it, I think there is going to be some concern.
Because you pointed out that this is a must-win year for the 49ers, especially with all the contracts that come up. So we'll see what they do there. Next game, I think this will be short and sweet. Chargers-Panthers, 26-3. Bryce Young, not expected to start this week. And the return of the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, back into the QB1 position for the Panthers. Panthers 0-2. Do you think the Panthers are already kind of thrown away this season?
Yeah.
Because I don't think someone makes a quarterback change to Andy Dalton if they don't expect to just kind of lose out.
All right. Yeah. Since me and Brock started this podcast, I feel like I've had good takes throughout the last we've done this for a year and a month or two.
Year or so.
Yeah. I feel like I've had pretty good takes with most everything we talk about. But there's 2 takes that still haunt me to this day. And they both involve offensive rookie of the year. Or just rookie of the year in general. I'm referring to my Bryce Young rookie of the year pick last year and my Scoot Henderson rookie of the year pick in the NBA. Those 2 takes will haunt me the rest of this podcast because I should have just went with the no doubt like, oh, duh, why should I just pick like CJ Stroud or Bijan Robinson to win that award? Or why did I not pick Wemby to win NBA rookie of the year when everyone and their mother was picking Wemby? But I think my Panthers hype, the Panthers hype train is officially dead. It only lasted 2 weeks, but
Chargers good, or are you not believing them yet?
Who knows? It's super early in the season, but I think me especially. I don't know about you. I've underestimated some teams. I've overestimated others. I think I overestimated the Bengals. they just haven't really. The first game they didn't look good at all. So against the Chiefs, they looked a little bit better. Team like the Chargers, I didn't think they'd be. Granted, their first two games have been against the Raiders and the Panthers, so it's like it's hard to really fully buy into what they're doing.
I think they lose their next two games, Steelers and Chiefs.
Yeah, that could be a possibility. I will say this. Shout out to Jim Harbaugh for, I think Big Cat on Barstool had this take for helping Quentin Johnston like catch footballs again. Because last year, that man could not catch a cold, let alone a football. And now he's dropping 5 receptions, 51 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Granted, I know it's against the Panthers, so don't take it with a grain of salt. But
sometimes that's what you need, though.
Transform this team. What?
Sometimes you just need to beat up on a crappy team to gain some momentum.
Right, and Harbaugh's like completely transformed this team. I think Harbaugh's at the mindset like, just like at Michigan, we're going to run the ball 40 times a game. We're going to have the better O-line, and you're not going to be able to stop us. And they ran the ball on Sunday for 44 times for 219 yards, basically 5 yards a carry.
Yeah. J.K. Dobbins had a good performance, 17 carries, 131 yards, and 1 touchdown. And with the win against Carolina, who drops to 0-2. We talked about this game a little bit earlier when we talked about our players of the week. Cardinals-Rams, 41-10. Are the Cardinals, is this a fluky win in your opinion, or do you think they're actually showing a little bit of something?
I think they are showing a little bit of something. I mean, obviously in your first week, when you're still able to hang with the Bills and you're not involving your best like offensive weapon, I think that shows something. And then this week, I'm not going to say this is a trend for the Cardinals. I don't think they're going to, sorry, Brock, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
It's all right. I didn't have that expectation anyways.
Right. But I think they could potentially finish the season with like 7,
I'd take that.
Wins.
Sign me up.
I mean, at this point for the Cardinals, you want your next few seasons to be a trajectory up, or it's like, hey, we get a little bit better this year, and maybe next year or the year after, it's like, okay, we can really make a push to make the playoffs because we still got a young Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison, and even a guy like Trey McBride, who a lot of people are saying is a top, I don't want to say top 5 tight. He's playing like a top 5 tight end this year, but if you're a Cardinals fan, like, I think you got a lot of optimism right now.
Should the Cowboys already be riding off this season with a loss 44-19 final score against the Saints?
No, I don't think they should be writing it off. I will say this: two out of the last 3 Cowboys games, they've given up 44, and then what they give up to the Packers in the playoffs, like another 40 plus points. I know they had a great game against Cleveland, but I don't think either me or you don't believe in Cleveland's quarterback situation whatsoever.
Unless it's Jameis Winston.
Right, but even
can't spell Winston without win.
Right. But me or you, we're not huge fans of what Cleveland's got going on right now in offense. So, is the loss of Dan Quinn bigger than we realize? I know you've been hyping up the Dan Quinn to Washington pretty much all offseason.
I love Dan Quinn.
I wasn't really like totally on board, but now I can see your point of why you've been pushing this so hard. I don't think it's time to press the panic button, but man, to get beat up by 25 against the Saints, who both of us thought weren't going to be very good, is certainly concerning.
Chase Winterborg, friend of the show, does the 515 Sports Pod with me, and then our Hardwood Combos NBA podcast, he's on there as well. Texted me week 1, notable Cowboys fan, for those that don't know. I'm officially a delusional Dallas Cowboys fan again. This was week 1. Week 2, he said, okay, thank God I'm officially out on the Cowboys and it's only week 2. Won't get my heart broken. I'll keep you guys updated on what happens week 3 with him. But right now, he's not in on the Cowboys, and I think a lot of Cowboys fans are a little concerned. But I feel like out of all the fan bases, that's the fan base that swings back and forth pretty quickly on their opinions.
Are you still confident on your Cowboys to the NFC Chip game? You still confident in that take? I know it's only week 2. I know.
Yes.
You're more confident in that than I am with my Cincinnati going to the AFC title game, by the way.
Yes,
but I think that's dead.
Yes, but the next game that we're going to talk about, I kind of want to switch to one to the team that won this game. I've been high on
Okay.
this team a lot. Uh, the Buccaneers defeat the Lions 20-16, and dude, I'm telling you, I don't know what Tampa Bay has done to Baker Mayfield. Of course, he had an interception in this game. Not as good this game compared to the week before, but the way that he plays with Tampa Bay just t- gives me more Baker and OU era vibes, and it's so fun to watch. I know again stats don't show up really on this game compared to the week before, but a big hard fought win for the Buccaneers. Are they legit threats in the NFC?
I think so. I think again, this is another one of Brock's teams that you've been super high on, and I've kind of I don't want to say I'm caught like
Yeah,
careful on my Buccaneers takes.
there's a shinier team in the NFC South. So like I get what you I like again, I think the Falcons are good too. But I get what you mean. You weren't on them, but you're
Right.
cautious.
I wasn't like disbeliever in what
Yes.
um Tampa Bay's got going. I mean, Baker's had a career resurgence. I mean, you may have saw this coming when he signed with Tampa Bay. I certainly did not.
I didn't see it. I was just happy he was getting a chance to play.
I will say this, and I hate beating down the same fan base over and over and over, but I'm going to. Man, do you think every Browns fan is like, man, what if we would have just kept Baker?
The Browns, what about the Panthers? They had him and Sam
I
Darnold.
I think I think the Panthers are just
They
we
had
don't need to
him
talk about
and
this.
Sam Darnold.
I think the Panthers are just a terrible situation for any quarterback. Like I still man, this might come back to bite me. I still kind of believe in Bryce Young. Like I think there's a slight possibility he could be decent. I just think the situation around him is so awful that he's got no one to throw to. His O line's not blocking. I mean, man, I don't know. But to kind of wrap up my thoughts, Baker's definitely been playing better than what I thought. Really impressive to go up into Detroit where they have a pretty noticeable home field advantage compared to other teams
Yep.
and able to pull out the dub.
I think Detroit has sports wise, it's hard because they're not always good at pretty much any league they're in. Has one of the more impressive fan bases just all around. Like when Detroit Pistons are really good. Hasn't been like that in a long time. '05, I think was '04, '05 around that time was the last time I think they were really
Okay.
relevant. Maybe even all the way to '07 when it comes to relevancy. But like their fan base is diehard. They're Detroit to the end. And so being able to walk in there when the Lions are actually expected to be good this year and forcing Goff to throw 2 interceptions, that's a pretty impressive win in my opinion, especially just given the amount of hype the Lions have gotten. I think I even like you took the Lions to the NFC chip, right? I don't even remember who you took
I'd have to go. I thought I did. I thought it. I
because I
thought
think
I
you
did.
did the.
No, I did Packers Niners, which
Oh, okay.
I still don't hate that take. I
You
still
took
like it
Packers
actually.
to the Super Bowl, right?
I did. Malik Willis,
Hey,
bro, he's
16 to
cooking.
16 to 10 win against the Colts. I think that's more on how good all around the Packers team is than the Colts being bad because uh Willis had a decent game for his first outing.
I don't know if you saw the stat, but so there's quarterback rating and there's pass rating. So I'm differentiating this so people don't get confused. So your passer rating when you spike the ball into the ground every play is 39.2. That's if you
Mhm.
just literally snap the ball, throw it straight into the ground. Malik Willis's career passer rating is 39. So
Get it.
he's more likely, he's better off just like throwing it straight into the ground than he is like trying to attempt to pass. Granted, like you said, he played well on Sunday. Like he had a couple good passes. I mean, he only needed to pass the ball 14 times because they were so dominant on the run game with Josh Jacobs. But yeah, I'm still liking my Packers to the Super Bowl take, even with Love out.
I'm going to scrub over some games that I don't think we really need to talk a lot about. Commanders, Giants. You had the kicker from the Commanders as the player of the week. Danny Dimes and the Giants struggling per usual. Did you see the meme about DJ Uyunglele?
No, I didn't.
Apparently, DJ and DJ Uyunglele means Daniel Jones.
Oh, man.
So, for those that don't know, Florida State is now 0-3 after the loss against Memphis. And you want to talk about bad takes? I don't know how much you listen to the 515 Sports Pod.
I did.
Back even to one of our first episodes, I said that DJ at Clemson was a Heisman sleeper, and I picked him as my Heisman winner for the year. Proceeds to do nothing. Transfers to Oregon State. Has a decent year. So then I start hyping him up some more. That year was fine. When he goes to Florida State, I'm like, dude, DJ has finally got his team. He's in a system that's built to win, and he's going to win. He is now 0-3, has not done a single thing that is worth even talking about, well, at least positively about him. So you want to talk about bad takes. This one has been like a 3-year process for me with this one. But
this one's been cooking for a while.
And I keep jumping back on it. And so it's just bad.
Can't keep falling into the same trap.
I don't know why I keep doing that.
There's a reason that me and my buddy Braden have been calling DJ Uyunglele. I call him DJ Uyunglele Poo Poo because he's been poo poo since he's left Clemson, and he was still poo poo at Clemson.
Oregon State, he was decent at Oregon State. They won a lot more games at Oregon State.
I don't want to offend any Oregon State viewers out there that may or may not be listening, but I don't know how much we really watch Oregon State football. I do watch. I like my Pac-12 after dark when they used to have it, but with that being gone, I mean,
you can just watch the Big 12 after dark. It's a lot better, anyways.
Are there any Big 12? I know that
we usually have the late games now because we have all those teams from the Pac-12, like Arizona State.
True. That's true.
Utah, Colorado. Glossing over like just some other games. Steelers, Broncos, boring. Nothing to talk about. Steelers win because of defense again. Other games looking at that we can kind of talk about quickly. Browns, Jags. Jags look terrible. And the Browns are undefeated when Jameis Winston plays. Just want to point that out. We are and I don't. If Jameis Winston will start for the Browns before the end of the year, I will go out on a limb and say that right now, and it needs to happen sooner rather than later. Seahawks, Patriots. Patriots going to be competitive this year because it went to OT. You don't think so?
No.
So then, is it more that the Seahawks played a bad game?
I think it's the Seahawks played a bad game.
All right.
I'm not a believer in the Patriots. I think the Patriots are going to be looking at a top 5 pick this year.
Which, I mean, I bet you they would take, especially with – I do think they have a decent quarterback.
Go pick up Travis Hunter, pair him with Drake May.
Yeah, that dude needs to gain some muscle, I'm not going to lie, or just bulk in general. But I think the Patriots are going to set themselves up for a good future with a couple good picks in the next couple years. Jets, Titans, Will Levis. What are your thoughts early on into his first 2 games as a starter? I mean, there's that photo of him doing the what do they call that? The Surrender Cobras or whatever, against the Bears, and they drop another one this time against the Jets. Granted, maybe losing by 1 touchdown against the Jets is a good sign, but at the same time, the Jets didn't look too impressive against the Chiefs. The 49ers the week before.
It's tough because I think Tennessee has good enough weapons around Levis. They have an older DeAndre Hopkins. They just paid Calvin Ridley all this money. They signed Tyler Boyd from the Bengals, and they still have their first-round pick from a couple of years ago, Traylon Burks. So it's not like they don't have the right weapons around him. I don't really know what to think about Will Levis so far. He hasn't been playing terrible. He was 19 of 28 for 192 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, which isn't great numbers. I mean, I don't want to poo-poo on Bears fans, but better than what Caleb Williams has done so far this year.
Oh, we'll get
But
to that.
yeah, but I think there's still like reason for optimism with Levis. I mean, to be fair, his first 2 games he's played have been against 2 great defenses in Chicago and the Jets. I know the Jets gave up quite a few points against the Niners, but every team gives up a bunch of points to the 49ers. So they got the Packers this week, who also have a really good defense, so that maybe that's another loss for them. I wasn't expecting them to be a crazy high like win like 8 or 9 games, but it is certainly concerning when they are 0-2, and especially losing that Bears game. I still don't know how they lost that Bears game.
Yeah, they are now 0-2, potentially going on 0-3, depending on how they play this week. And we'll see if Will Levis, the Mayo lover, will end up turning it around. Raiders, probably the upset of the weekend. I think even more than the Saints beating the Cowboys. Just because I think the Saints have a better quarterback than Carr. Minshew is turning into this generation's Fitzpatrick, man. He's just on a different team and finds a way to beat really good teams at weird times. And the Raiders beat the Ravens 26-23. Stats wise, it looks like the Ravens won this game, but they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Minshew certainly played well. 30 of 38, 276 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. QBR of 51.7, so slightly above average, or slightly above, average. They were able to give the ball to Davante Adams, where I think anytime you do that, you're going to put yourself in a chance to win. Brock Bowers. Shout out to Brock Bowers. He's been playing way better than what I thought. When he first got drafted to the Raiders, I'm like, why are the Raiders doing this? They have Michael Mayer, who they literally spent a top 60 pick on last year. But Brock Bowers, 9 catches, 98 yards, and he almost had the 1 touchdown. I think he got tackled on the 1.
He has 1. Yeah, he got close. Didn't make it.
Right. Now for the Ravens, is it time for the Ravens to play the panic button? I think is.
They're in such a weird situation because a lot of people are thinking that they're contenders, but I think they are some of the biggest pretenders out there. I'm not going to lie. Right now, if I had to invest in a team in that division to win the division,
Steelers.
I'm putting all my money on the Steelers because that defense keeps them in it. Chris Boswell is pretty much on the same level as Justin Tucker for consistency. And I feel like the offense can do enough to at least get them in positions to hopefully win.
Yeah, I got excuse me, I got 2 things on the Baltimore game. Quietly, Justin Tucker's like one of the worst 50-plus yard field goal kickers recently. I don't know if you've seen the stat. He's like 1 of 8 on his last 8 attempts from 50-plus yards.
No Chris Boswell, man.
So if you're a Ravens fan, concerning to say the least.
Yep.
And then I think the Ravens have an issue with Derrick Henry. Like, Derrick Henry is a great running back. I don't think anyone is saying he's bad. I think Derrick Henry is bad, though, when he's not going to be on the field for you if you're chasing the whole time. And granted, the Ravens weren't chasing in this game, but in that Kansas City game, Derrick Henry was on the sideline most of that fourth quarter because Derrick Henry is a power back. He's meant to kill the game, kill time. But when you have to go hurry up, they're relying on guys like Justice Hill and who else was getting targets or getting carries.
He was the only one.
It was literally just Lamar and Justice Hill. So I feel like everyone's hyping up the Derrick Henry edition, as it should be. It's a good player. But I think we overrate it a little bit because I don't think we talk about the fact if the Ravens need to come back in a game, Derrick Henry's not really going to help you. He's not going to be your fourth quarter running back if you're trailing by 7 or 8.
He's on the Jets, but I feel like the Ravens would have benefited a lot from going after. And the only reason I say this is because I know him from Iowa State, but going after Kene Nwangwu last when he got cut by the Vikings, because one, he can help you in the special teams kick return, punt returns, and set you up in excellent field position, which would help Derrick Henry maybe get even more touches that are, at least you can be more confident in giving him the ball. At the same time, he can do a little bit of everything. Ball carrier, can be a receiving back if needed. So what the Ravens need to do is be able to either develop someone on the roster where they can be a good pass catching running back, or a running back that is more elusive than Henry, where you're not just giving them the same 2 plays that Henry gets, because if you're just doing power back related plays, you're not going to do anything when you're down 10 points in the fourth quarter.
Right. I couldn't agree with more.
We talked a little bit about the Chiefs-Bengals game. Anything else that you want to mention about this?
Bad vibes still going on in Cincinnati, and
I think they're going to explode, dude. I think something
yeah,
is.
I think there was a telltale sign when Chase was yelling at Burrow, and Burrow was trying to calm him down after Chase wanted the hip drop tackle, which wasn't a hip drop tackle, by the way. But when he's screaming at the officials, and Burrow's trying to calm him down, and he's screaming at Burrow, I think there's legit, like, I think Jamar Chase is legit pissed off with him not getting that
Rightfully
contract. I
so,
don't know if
though.
you right. I don't know if you saw, he had to take out a $50 million injury settlement, or like insurance, just in case, like, hey, dude's playing on a $2 million base salary deal this year. If something were to go wrong, and granted, I hope it doesn't, because he's a heck of a player. I like watching him play. He's out 200, not 200 million, but like 120, 130 million dollars. So you got to imagine that's causing a lot of stress and anger for him.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's just not playing very well. Like, they squeaked by their game against the Patriots on last Sunday, and I know
Squeaked
that they
by,
were
they
in this
lost.
game. What?
Squeaked by, they lost.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I was looking at the Bears game,
I
because I know we're getting ready to talk Bears Texans in a second, and the Bears squeaked by last week. So, no, with them losing last week and this week, I mean, I don't know with the rest of their schedule. I mean, they should win their next 2-ish games, I think. I mean,
imagine if they start 0-4, that involves losses against the Commanders and
well,
the Panthers.
so at worst they'll start 1-3, because I just don't see a world where the Panthers
I hope
beat
I'm not gonna lie, just because I just don't have a good feeling. I would actually kind of like coming back 2 weeks from now, and we're talking an 0-4 Bengals team, and how everybody's like, no, there's still a chance that they could turn it around, because that's what they'll do.
There's the stat out there, and I'm sure you've seen it, where the Bengals under Joe Burrow in weeks 1 and 2 are like one of the worst teams in the NFL. I think they're like 1-8, 1-9. And I know every Bengals fan is like, "Oh, we started 0-2 the year we made the Super Bowl," but I
This is
I'm a
different.
big vibes person. Like, if your team has good vibes, right, good energy, I think you're going to do really well. Example: look at the Timberwolves last year. Timberwolves were this fun team, came out of nowhere. Ant-Man was highlight reel, playing with Cat. Gobert was playing good, and they made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. I'm not saying solely off of good vibes, but I think it helps. Whereas you look at a team that's has turmoil against each other, like, I think that really hurts your locker room, and I think it hurts your overall team.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see what they do. They're now 0-2. Chiefs improved to 2-0. 26-25 was the final score on that one. Then we get to Sunday Night Football. Texans win 19-13 against the Bears. I think this is the first time in a while the Texans have been on Sunday Night Football, which shows you that they are really improving, because people want to put them on TV. And man, dude, I know we both hyped up the Bears kind of going into this year, that they could potentially be a fun team, sleeper team to watch. They have no protection for Caleb. It's like it's alarming, like to the point where I'm like, do you consider if you're 1-6 to just call it a lost season and bench him, because you have no way to protect him and he's just going to get hurt?
No, I wouldn't. I want Caleb to get as many reps as possible, because I think you're only just pushing the problem down the road if you don't give him these reps. I was pulling up a stat. So I think the Bears had, like, I'm trying to figure out how many dropbacks. I think 37 or 38 dropbacks. I think he was pressured on all but 1 or 2. which I think is an absurd stat. Here, I'm trying to pull the right stat up so I know what I'm talking about. But and he was sacked 7 times. Like, and I think what not a whole lot of people are talking about is Chicago's run game is not good. Like
I
Caleb
thought they
Williams is,
would. I was so wrong about that. I thought Swift
yeah.
would have been a great addition for them.
I mean, Swift on Sunday's game was 14 carries for 18 yards, 1.3 yards a carry. Like that's not good. The other guys had like 1 carry for 6 yards, 2 carries for 3 yards. Caleb Williams was the leading rusher by 26 yards. Like you can't have that happen if you're the Bears. I think you gotta.
Yeah.
I think first of all, if you go into this offseason, I think you got to beef up this offensive line. This offensive line is nowhere near what it needs to be for a guy like Caleb Williams, because I think you're only hurting his development by surrounding him with this bad an offensive line.
Yeah, it shocked me how bad they were, and they fall to 1-1. Texans improved to 2-0. 2 close games for the Texans early on in the season. Then we get to the final game of the week, Monday Night Football. Falcons come out with a very, very close win, 22-21 against the Eagles. Honestly, there's nothing on here that concerns me about this game or from either team. I feel like it was just a good Monday Night Football game that ended up being close. Maybe a little bit of concern for the Eagles, just because, you don't want to lose at home on Monday night on a primetime game. But credit to the Falcons for having a good game. Bijan Robinson starting to show that he's going to be a very, very good running back for them this year. 97 rushing yards. And then Aguilar also had 53, I think, on the ground. What were your thoughts on this game? Any concerns at all from either team?
I mean, I think the main story of what everyone's still talking about this game is why the Eagles went for that pass play on that 3rd down when they had the ball.
Yeah.
People are going to be playing a lot of like, what's the term? Not devil. Oh, man.
Devil's
They're
advocate.
playing both sides of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if Saquon would have caught that, they would have picked up the 1st down. It would have been like, oh, man, Eagles are geniuses for doing that. Like, who would have thought to go for a halfback pass out of the backfield? Like, kudos to the Eagles. I think people are only playing the results. Granted, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just taken the ball out, run it up the middle. If you didn't get it, you have the best interior offensive line, arguably in the league, and taking your chance with the QB sneak and really sealed the game. But the Eagles still played well. Saquon still had a good game. Hurts wasn't having a crazy good game. He had a lot of yards on the ground, and he had the one tush-push touchdown. I think this is more about the Falcons going down the field with ease on that last drive. They were able to move the ball. Kirk Cousins wasn't pressured at all, really. He was sacked 1 time the whole game. He had a QBR of 75.5. I mean, I think this says more about the Falcons than it does about the Eagles.
Yeah, I agree. But it was a fun week of some football games. Again, some major surprises, some really good games as well. Looking at week 3, we start off with a Thursday night football game, Jets and Patriots. I think this is going to be a blowout. I think this is going to be the time for the Jets to really show that there's something.
Here, I'm pulling on my schedule right now. All right. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I probably will watch this game still, but man, do I really want to?
You just watch some college football, Thursday night
I was
action
going to say,
or whatever.
are there any good college games on Thursday night? I don't think there are. I know there's a good game Friday in college football. Yeah, Big Ten.
You can watch App State, South Alabama.
Honestly, we'll see. That game's at 6:30, so I could watch both. But yeah, that one's not going to be a very good game for Thursday.
There's some interesting matchups for sure this week, though. You got, the Lions and Cardinals. Which one is more true? Are the Lions having a hangover from last year? Or the Cardinals actually taking a turn for a positive future and a good route for them? Then you got, Colts and Bears, two young quarterbacks. One of them's looking to get their first win of the year, and Anthony Richardson. Other one is trying to get some protection, maybe have a good game. Hasn't had a good game yet as the number one overall pick, but as shown last week, I think the offensive line was kind of a big reason for that. Steelers Chargers will be a good game. Two undefeated teams. One team built on defense, another team built on running the ball a lot. We'll see what happens there. Ravens Cowboys. Record-wise, maybe not a game that a lot of people will be looking forward to, but I think it's an important one in terms of the trajectory a lot of those two teams will take this year, depending on if they win or lose. And then, honestly, Falcons-Chiefs, I think, will be a good game as well. It's a big game. A lot of good games this week. Any of them that you have circled on your list outside of probably Chiefs and Falcons because you're a Chiefs fan?
Yeah, the one that I kind of like is Houston and Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
We all think Houston's this great team. I certainly agree with that take.
Yep.
Minnesota's they came out of nowhere. I think this could be a good game for Houston. It's going to really test them. Go on the road, play a fairly good opponent in Minnesota. Both teams are 2-0. It's a noon game on Sunday. That should be a good game. I'm trying to see what else. Chargers and Steelers. I mean, both teams are 2-0. Oh, wow. The over-under is very low, though. Wow. 35.5.
That's
wow.
I think it's because of the black and yellow jerseys.
Yeah. And a Big Ten coach on the other sideline.
That helps.
But yeah, that should be an interesting game. I'm not going to say that's going to be a great game. Seattle and Miami. Who knows what Miami's quarterback situation is going to be next week. I think it's Skylar Thompson. I know they just signed Tyler Huntley, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens, who I think could be good for him. I don't know how soon he'll get the job or if he'll get the job. So that'll be interesting. It'll be cool to see how Miami's offense changes without them really having like a formidable quarterback. But we'll see. Maybe Mike McDaniel will just scheme something up where they're able to stay in these close games.
Yeah. By the way, you can get tickets to the Broncos-Buccaneers game for as low as $29 if you want.
That's like as expensive as like 3 bottles of water at one of those stadiums.
And then you got the Panthers and Raiders where the cheapest ticket is $140. Just shows you, though,
Yikes.
like the stadium does matter because the stadium by itself is part of the ticket. That's the thing that I don't think some people get is like you're not just buying the ticket for the matchup, but you're also buying the ticket based off of the stadium that you're going to.
Right. I was trying to pull up the next Panthers home game.
I'm hoping everything works out for me, and I'll be going to Arrowhead in November, first or second weekend of November.
I don't know if you've been to that stadium before. I'm sure you have.
I have in the spring, so not for a game
day. Okay.
I've never been to an NFL stadium for a football game. I've been to an NFL stadium for a college basketball game, but that's it.
Same here. That stadium. Now I don't know how it's going to be with. I'm sure it's Kansas versus Iowa State, right?
Yep.
This game you go to. I don't know how it's going to be for college, like how full it's going to sell out.
I know a lot of people that from Iowa State that are going. Kansas, the fact that they've dropped 2 games in a row, which, by the way, for those that didn't watch the 515 Sports Pod last week, my underdog of the week was UNLV plus 7.5 against Kansas, and I was able to win that. By the way, when I say win that, I mean I was right. I don't bet on anything. I have to
Brock is not a gambling degenerate.
I have to fully disclose that for the purpose of just my professional life. But anyways, I think it will be good. If Kansas can win and it's like a night game, I bet you it will be a fun event. If it's a night game, there's a good chance I'm not going because the schedule, the time of the game actually does matter for me in terms of like people who are available to go with me to Kansas City. So pray for an 11 a.m. game. I'm not going to lie. I'm fine with getting up at 6 a.m. and driving down to Kansas City. But No, I'm looking forward to it. Tickets for that are like way more expensive than NFL tickets, which blows my mind. I gotta.
What are they?
Let's see if I can find them. Tickets. Football tickets. Iowa State. Where's Iowa State? The problem is that they know Iowa State fans want to go to this game so bad that like they've like made it like you had to buy season tickets for the longest time.
Yeah.
Let's see if I want 3. I guess they're $88 right now.
Oh.
Which isn't terrible, but that's like the 300 section, obviously.
What I call Jesus seats, because you're up so high in Arrowhead that you're basically talking to Jesus.
And not just the Jesus seats where the video boards would be. So you're in the end zone. So that.
Yeah, that's not a great seat.
Which is funny because they say on SeatGeek that it's an amazing deal. But it's not bad. Hopefully I can find a way to get down there. I really want
that
to.
stadium is amazing to walk around and to watch a game. There is. You're speaking as a guy who's been to his fair share of Chiefs games. That stadium never gets old.
Yeah,
that's probably.
Was your first one the one with the Steelers where there was that controversial call?
Yeah, where we lost and they only hit field goals.
Yeah. Figure. Steelers have been doing it forever.
Yeah, dude. The Killer Bees, bro. That's when they had Big Ben, Le'Veon, and Antonio. Which now feels like so long ago.
Back in the days I used to play Madden Mobile.
Oh, man.
Bro, Madden Mobile used to be the greatest game of all time.
Madden Mobile 15 and 16, bro. Me and my buddies would all huddle around the lunch table.
Oh, yeah.
And for 20 of the 25 minutes we had lunch, we'd be playing Madden Mobile.
Oh, yeah.
And then 5 minutes we'd be trying to eat all our food right before we went to go to class.
It was that and Clash of Clans for my entire school. Like, everybody had their own leagues, and
I still play Clash of Clans, bro.
I got it downloaded. I haven't been on it
Get back on the grind.
Might have to. What was I going to say? But no, Madden Mobile, dude. Madden Mobile, those 2 years, single-handedly might be up there in the best sports video games of all time.
Yeah, I think you could make that case.
Because everybody I know that our age like played that and enjoyed it.
I would throw probably 2K16 in that.
2K11 will always have a special place in my heart because that was the first one I played.
Honestly, I know that the game has a lot of bugs and a lot of issues that they need patches for. College Football 25 is one of my favorite sports games I've ever
I haven't played any other game but that since it came out, and I'm not even joking.
Right.
If you see me online, I'm probably playing that. Literally the only thing I've been playing. And honestly, the bugs aren't that huge for me that it's like impacting me whatsoever. And I've already seen rumors of like what they're trying to do to improve it for next year, and I'm already excited for the next year game. But no, the Madden Mobile, dude, that opened up a part of my childhood that I forgot about. And then I think 2K12 was the first 2K you got, right?
No, 11. You got me.
Oh, you got 2K11.
And
I remember there was a Christmas Eve where you were playing McGuire and he was the Bulls and you were some custom team with all these like 90 plus overalls.
This is when I was so bad at 2K. Like I knew how to like pass and shoot and move, and that's it. Like I didn't know how to. I had to ask someone back then how to like set a screen.
Yeah.
Like call for a screen when you're on offense. And that's how bad I was.
McGuire, I think, was down like 20 or something like that at half, and I told McGuire, I was like, give me the controller.
Yeah.
And I honestly would have lost, but you missed a free throw, and I shot a 3/4 quarter shot with Jordan, and it banked in.
That was that 2K11?
It was either that or 12. I can't remember.
So that one, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't have a free throw meter. Like you just had to like time it based on like release. So like I was never good at that. And plus,
it was just hilarious. I'm gonna have to look through my phone and see if I can find that. If I find it, I'm gonna show it up on our podcast next week or on social media.
Hey, I've gotten better. I've gotten better at 2K.
Oh, you're way better than me now. I mean, it used to be a Christmas tradition where I would show up, beat you in both 2K and Madden, and then go home. And now I have to actually compete.
No, correction, it was 2K and NCAA.
Oh yeah, NCAA.
You would always play me in NCAA. It would always be the Cyhawk series every time, and you'd always, for some reason, I don't know how you did it. You'd always block the PATs or block the field goals that I was kicking, and then run it back for a touchdown. Like, I still to this day do not know how that happened.
I don't either.
How you were able to do it?
Because that was before you could like time up the snap like in Madden or college football.
Yeah.
Honestly though, like my favorite memories from growing up with us was because we had no Wi-Fi, and like the only game that worked on the first Xbox One for the first year was NBA Live or whatever. Okay. And I think all we would play Cavs versus Mavericks. I don't know why I always played as the Mavericks, but like we had
bro.
We had so many good games with that, bro. It was a good time. But yeah, that's pretty much it that we got for this week. We'll be back next week, and we'll actually be starting the Hardwood Combos podcast here shortly as the NBA season's getting back. I know that we have a lot to get to with the off season and stuff, as well as predictions. I think I might make a compilation of our predictions from last year and see if we can react to those and just have some fun with that. But for Dawson,
we also
go ahead.
We got to react to the NBA jerseys that all got leaked yesterday. The city ones. I don't know if
you saw I didn't even see those. Well, definitely.
Yeah, they all got leaked. We'll have to do a jersey reaction on next Hardwood Combos. I'm personally, I don't hate the Cavs ones, but some
do I want to see the Celtics ones?
No, the Celtics ones are bad. I do remember that here.
That's great. Per usual. Death, taxes, and the Celtics making terrible city uniforms. I don't look forward to looking at those. Are you sending it to me right now?
I'm trying to find the. See if I can. Bro.
What is that? Is it just literally what they did last year, but made it black?
Yeah.
And what is that neon green on the side?
Yeah, it is. This is Cleveland's, bro. Cleveland's is kind of tough. It's kind of a blue.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
There's some nasty.
There's a reason I don't buy Celtics jerseys, dude.
There is some disgust. I will say this until I stop watching the NBA. Nike legitimately ruined jerseys for me.
There's been some good ones.
There have been, but not recently. Like, there's few teams that have consistently good jerseys. I think Miami's one of them. Like, any of the Miami Vice jerseys are clean.
What about the Heat Culture one?
No, that one I don't like. And then the one where
that's top 5 worst jerseys of all time, the Heat Culture.
That and when they did, like, the mismatch, like, letters and, like, jersey numbers. I hated those two.
Oh, I can't wait. We're going to have to look and react.
As someone who's got a Vice jersey behind right there.
Yeah, love it. I preferred the white ones for some reason. I don't know. When Miami did the white hot ones, those are top jerseys of all time. But we'll have to react to those on a Hardwood Combos episode here in a couple weeks. But for Dawson Livingston, I'm Brock Bierman. We are the Sports Nerds. We always talk a little bit about the NFL and then pretty much whatever else that we think about throughout our recording process or live streaming. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter, for all of our live streams. You can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and Spotify, and then pretty much every social media platform we're on as well, posting clips as well as graphics. You'll see our Player of the Week graphics up later this week, which we gave out earlier in this episode. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Make sure to follow, subscribe, like, comment, whatever you need to do to support us. We appreciate all the support. Enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll see you next week.